welcome to Eye of Africa. I'm your host, Aina Fadina. Today we're here in Central Park, New York, and we're talking to Emeka Ogboh. Hi Emeka, how are you?
Hi, thank you, Aina.
Cool,
good to
cool.
be here.
How's New York treating you?
So far, so good. New York has really been good to me, I have to say.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit about what you're doing in New York?
First and foremost, I'm an artist. I'm a sound artist. I'm also a video artist, and I brought the Dunkerboss to New York, kind of like I brought Lagos to New York for an art project, because my work has to do with the Lagos soundscape, and it's always been a dream to come to New York with the boss, and I did that.
So for a lot of people, they see this yellow bus. It's not a school bus.
No, no, it's not.
What is a Dunkerboss?
The Dunkerboss is it's typically found in Lagos. It's a Volkswagen transporter, from the 80s, and it's usually painted yellow with two black stripes. I think the yellow and the two black stripes are the stuff that really identifies it, right? But you can also find it in other various colors. But I think the official color is yellow and the two black stripes. So it's at some point it was the main means of transportation in Lagos, but it's slowly being phased out at the moment. But it's very, very iconic with Lagos.
Okay, so you were born in Enugu and you moved to Lagos.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about growing up in Nigeria and the point where you figured out that you wanted to be an artist, a creative.
People that have known me from day one, they are not surprised that I chose this path, because apparently I've been doing a lot of artistic stuff, from scribbling on the walls as a baby, then graffiti in secondary school,
okay.
and being in the art class kind of. Then when the decision to what do I want to study in university came, at some point I thought of being a doctor, but I'm glad I didn't do that. But it was between architecture and fine arts, and fine arts was 4 years, architecture was 6 years.
Okay.
I chose fine arts.
You chose 4 years.
I chose 4 years. I chose 4 years, and yeah, that's I ended up. I think it was a natural thing to do, to be an artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's take it back to Lagos a bit. I think Lagos is misunderstood by a lot of people. Lagosians are also misunderstood as well too. Can you tell us your interpretation, your perspective of the city, which is a major cosmopolitan city, and the people, the energy, the vibe, the aura of Lagosians?
I think the average New Yorker will understand Lagos because it has the same vibes and aura like New York, but on a different level. Lagos is a great place, especially for the creative-minded ones. It's a city that is inspiring. As an artist, you can produce a new piece of work every day from just interacting with the city. And like you said, it's pretty much misunderstood, and we know why. For a very long time, Lagos was really notorious, but things have changed these days, and it's a great city in general. Living in Lagos is a fantastic experience. It's not always good, but it's not always bad. But the point is that when you put the dynamics in place, like what happens every day, it makes it really an interesting space to live in, because every day is a new day in Lagos.
Yeah.
There's no kind of repetition of routine. It's not one of those cities where you can predict what will happen. So you go out there open-minded, and new things come to you, or things changes. For example, they could decide this bus park has to move, or this woman selling stuff on this street has to move. So you wake up in the morning, where you are used to buying things every day, it's changed.
Yeah.
It's relocated, and there's no forwarding contact or forwarding address. So you go out to find an alternative or to trace these people. So I think it's a very interesting space to live in
Yeah,
general.
I think Lagos is dynamic.
Yeah.
Usually what happens is, you're flying, you get to Lagos, and your pulse, your heart rate, everything just changes.
Once you step out of the plane, it happens.
Yeah.
You are all this chilled out, and you step out of Lagos. It's like this intuition, this instinctive thing. Like your guards come up at the same time. it's something you I don't know how to put it, but you feel it.
Yeah.
The city does that to you by just stepping out of the plane. Everything changes.
Yeah.
The way your body also reacts to it changes. Yeah.
And how do you think the sounds? You focus a lot on sound.
Yeah.
How do you think the sounds, the vibe, the energy of Lagos has changed?
It's an interesting question because I didn't grow up in Lagos.
Okay.
And part of what I wanted to find out since I started working with sound, I was talking to a lot of people that have lived in the city. Like, I'm like, what sounds don't you hear anymore? Or like, what did the sounds of the city change? And I was talking to this guy. He told me, for an instance, that they grew up on Lagos Island, and they would always hear the sound of the prisoners working. At the where it's now known as Freedom
Park. Yeah.
When the prisoners worked, they were singing and like doing the whole manual labor thing. And I think he went to school in King's College, which is not so far from there. Yeah. So he told me that that's one thing he doesn't hear anymore. And we know why. The prison shut down, and also like some of the hawkers selling some specific things. But since I started recording the sounds of Lagos, it's not like I found any sound that has gone extinct. But it's a situation where some of the sounds have relocated or are not there anymore, and most times it's due to the infrastructural development going on in the city, because there are some places where they've just renovated or expanded the road and things like that. Then they'll put up the sign, no hawking, and what that means is like you won't hear the voice of the hawker calling out what they're selling, right? And for places where the BRT has taken over the Dunkerboss, you wouldn't hear the sound of the bus conductor calling out all those routes.
Yeah.
So in some ways, with the infrastructural development happening in the city, the sound is being relocated or being displaced, And like they're building the monorail right now, and I'm wondering what kind of dynamics that will bring to the city too.
The dynamics. I know for me, growing up in the 80s, yes, I'm dating myself here. There are things that kind of remained in my mind, which was the mosque in the morning when they're doing their early morning
call for prayers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then same thing with the churches as well too. And then you have people who are waking up and they're going about their days. You get in the car. Oh yeah, you see the Dunkerboss, the conductors. I'm gonna speak Yoruba here for a second, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you're going, and this is just like the vibe, the energy,
the energy.
And it's just you go to Lagos now, and it's nice to see those changes happen, but at the same time, you've changed the dynamics. It's phenomenal.
I agree, and I think something interesting you mentioned, like the churches. Like when I moved to where I'm staying in Lagos, I think it was just one church next to me, but now you have like 3 more churches. So on Sundays, I really don't have to go to church because it streams into my house, and I call it like a 4.1 surround sound thing, because you have 4 churches now synchronizing their sounds, trying to outscream or outdo each other. Then also like the mosques are becoming more, because the mosques used to be like specifically somewhere, but they are now like having these offshoots around too, where I can hear the call for prayers, and it's pretty. The thing early in the morning, the sounds travel far, so you can pick that all up in the morning. But the beautiful thing about Lagos is, if you are up early and you can hear the city wake up, it wakes up pretty early. But like you mentioned, it starts with all this thing, like the city doing this mix, and it gradually builds up the crescendo. Then maybe by noon it drops down a little bit, then picks up again.
Back up again with traffic and everything.
Exactly. So it's really these dynamics that I find interesting, and I try to record or pick up sometimes. And the interesting thing for me too, like going to Europe or somewhere super quiet, and to be honest, I find it hard to sleep because there's no sound.
There's no sound.
I'm used to like having all these things happening around me. Even like the wee hours of the morning, you're probably gonna hear some generator on somewhere. If there's no power, definitely it's part of the Lagos dynamic.
It's part of Lagos. It's definitely
so
true.
When you travel to somewhere much quieter than Lagos, personally I have a problem with sleeping. So I've learned to like play music, fall asleep to music, or put on the Lagos soundscape recording. That brings the sound of the city into this hotel room somewhere, and it's quiet. I've learned to do that and fall asleep.
So it's interesting. A lot of designers have used this Dunkerboss and the Ogboh as a source of inspiration. I know these people have probably never been in a Ogboh or Dunkerboss before,
I agree.
Me.
Yours truly.
But why are we so obsessed with this? Why is this such an iconic, it's like a New York City and the yellow taxis.
Exactly.
But even more, there's just something about that bus.
And I'll tell you, for example, you are flying into Lagos, and once you descend the cloud, just look out in the city. The city is sprawled out, beneath you. If you pay attention, you're going to see these yellow dots scurrying in around the city. It's the Lagos Dunkerboss. And it's versatile, and I think that what makes it unique is it penetrates into everywhere, into every corner. It's affordable to get on. So it's the main mode of mass transportation in the city, and it's kind of a darling of the city because in as much as you hate it because of the conductors or the parks and stuff like that, for those that have to use it for a means of transportation, it works and it's affordable, like I said. And I find that what makes it really interesting and dynamic is the bus parks, the bus stations where they take off from. It's an interesting space with everyone, like everybody. You can find all kinds of stuff there. Hawkers selling basically everything. And when you get on the bus, it becomes like this mobile village square, where everyone, even if they're minding their business, a few things can bring them together. You get sucked into it. If the talk is politics, if they're abusing the politicians, everyone joins in. If it's like them fighting against the bus driver for ripping them off or the bus conductor, everyone joins in. It's kind of brings people together. It's like a community village square, and I really like that dynamics, and I like it because it makes an interesting recording one, and it puts you in touch with the city. You can know what is happening in the city by just being inside those buses. So I like that a lot.
Now, for a lot of the artists who are sort of up and coming, what sort of messages can we give them? Because you do something that's extremely unique. You're using sort of like photography, sound, using images and videos, motion to tell a story, to captivate an audience. People are like, what the hell is that? Like, you're trying to explain this to people that
It brings me to when I started recording Lagos, which was, I wouldn't say it was accidental, but after taking this sound course in Egypt, coming back to Lagos and realizing like the treasure that I have, because Lagos is a sound city. A lot happens like orally, so like I said earlier, Lagos is somewhere that if you are creatively minded, there's so much to explore with the city. And I just started recording the sound and just listening to it. For starters, I didn't really know, I couldn't figure out, or I didn't make any plans. I was just interested in how the sounds played out. The city made me a sound artist, I have to confess. Lagos made me a sound artist because I just continually I was just recording non-stop, listening, and started thinking how to apply the sound. So what I'll say to everyone is like upcoming artists, like there's so much out there to tap into, there's so much to do. And if you listen to people at the beginning because they wouldn't understand it, or like if you listen to them like asking you what the hell do you think you're doing and it's not going to take you anywhere, I would say don't pay attention to them. But there will always be this thing about like how do you make money off things, and how do you continue doing this. Like I know most artists they have to live off their art kind of. Right. So I would just say like find something else to do if you're really passionate with this. Focus on what you're doing as your art because it comes from the heart. Then find something by the side that you can be doing, and if you can make money off that, so you don't compromise or you don't give up at some point. But one thing about like being in the art, perseverance pays. It pays completely because you keep doing something consistently. You go through the whole process of understanding what you're doing and immersing yourself into it. The ideas, there are so many things to explore with that, and if you're able to tap into that, you can do so much. So with the sound is like, I keep telling people, it's like a painter or a photographer. A painter would paint Lagos, right? Yeah. I'll record the sound and install it. It's the same thing, it's the same Lagos. Yeah. But mine is more time-based and it's more immersive and sucks you right into the city. You experience the city better that way.
So for those people who've never been to Lagos before, what are the highlights? For me, I know one place I always enjoy going to.
What's that?
I enjoy Ogboh.
Okay.
It's a really cool place, and I think it's a place that I wouldn't say history, but our culture. They found a way to sort of like bring it in, because a lot of things are changing. Sometimes you go to Lagos, you're like, why am I like? Exactly. What is this?
It looks like New York somewhere. This is not Lagos really because it feels disconnected from the city.
Yeah, exactly.
And the nice thing about Ogboh too, it also brings like creative minds together. But Lagos for me, like one of the places I love going to in Lagos is Famous Shrine for one. The energy, it sucks you into the city. You find everybody there. Then before, Bar Beach and sitting by the beach and having grilled fish and beer and probably some live music. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's no longer there. It's this kind of gentrification happening. They are building the Atlantic City, which is cool. But come on, man, where do the masses go? Where can we go and chill out and relax? We need all those kind of places. So the beaches did that for me because I get calm by the sea. Fresh air, outdoors. Fresh fish, nice music.
Even walking, I know, like growing up, you can walk, but now try walking. What do you call this Marua Keke or whatever?
Oh wow, Keke Marua. They replace your kadas. They replace your kadas. But it's still, you can still walk, but you just have to be careful. You just have to be careful. You just have to pay attention. This whole thing with your earphones and trying to walk, I don't think it will work so much in Lagos because the sounds kind of warn you of danger. You're missing out a lot. So, walking around the city, some places definitely. Yeah.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, I want to come to Lagos with you," and I'm like, "Well, what are you coming for? Are you coming for business? Or are you coming for pleasure? Are you looking for a contract? Or what's your purpose?" And sometimes it's a bit hard if you don't know anyone in Lagos. But if someone is like, "I want to experience Africa. I want to experience Lagos." What advice can you give them about exploring, visiting Lagos?
For a long time, my take on this situation, when Nigeria discovered oil, a lot of focus was on oil. We left the whole tourism aspect, the tourists, we didn't think about that, or we just forgot about that because oil is quick money. Yeah. If you look at the very touristy places in Africa, people are going, they don't have oil. Tourism was the only thing they had, and so they focused on that a lot and developed it. Lagos Lagos has tourist attractions, even historically. Somewhere like TBS and stuff like that, Lagos Island, Badagry, exactly, Badagry was a slave, one of the slave routes. Yeah. But they didn't pay so much attention in developing all those places. Even the museum, there's really nothing happening there. So, but in recent times, they are rethinking things now. So they are developing these attractions because it's Lagos for a long time attracted only businessmen or businesswomen, people that came there strictly for business, but the world is becoming very global and small. People want to experience things, especially like a city like Lagos. People want to come to Lagos. They hear so much about Lagos, and you find a Nigerian everywhere, and most of these Nigerians went through Lagos or know Lagos, so Lagos is what they talk about. So yes, there's a lot to do in the city, and I will always tell people get there, just get out there. They will say Lagos is much safer these days than it used to be. Go out there, make friends with locals. It's always nice to hang out in some restaurant, like you mentioned, Bogobiri. If you're there, you're going to meet people that Lagosians are really open-minded and very nice people. Yeah. They will take out time to show you the city, or to hang out with you, or to go somewhere with you. So it's definitely somewhere everyone should check out.
Come visit.
Yeah, come visit.
So let's take it back to your work a little bit. You've bought the bus here to New York, and I think you drove around at some point yesterday.
Yeah, even we drove around on the 14th for the first time, 14th of September.
Yeah. So what was the reaction you got from people?
Oh wow! It's doing these installations, like relocating sounds of Lagos to different cities. When I started doing that, I was more interested in how foreigners, people that didn't know Lagos, would react to these strange sounds, right? Till I did an installation in Helsinki in 2011 when this Nigerian guy, he completely freaked out when he heard the sound of Lagos. This kind of nostalgic feeling of home. It was very moving because, he held me listen. And I think the best part was I'm going to come back home this Christmas, which he did because he called me when he arrived in Lagos. So that also made me rethink this whole thing about installing the sound. How will the Nigerians or people that know this sound react to this sound in a strange where they don't expect it? So it's always nice to see, look out for these reactions. So on the 14th, we had a lot of Nigerians flagging down the bus and wanting to take selfies with the boss, or like we know this boss, you know, like I know this boss, this is Lagos, you know, and the highlight was when we went through past Booker. We were heading to Booker.
In Brooklyn,
in Fulton, in Brooklyn. And we didn't know where Booker was because I haven't been there before. So we drove past it. So we were going to turn around and come back there. When we turned, you know, they were all running up to the boss. Like, I think that was the best part. You know, they freaked out completely. That was completely amazing. Like having them react to this visual, this iconic symbol, this symbolic stuff they know of Lagos. You know, they saw it immediately. It's not. There's a lot of yellow painted taxis and you know, or like but you know, with the 2 black stripes, you know, like this is a downfall. And it's the Volkswagen Transporter bus, which is what most of the downfalls are. You know, like you know, are. So that makes my day more like it. And yesterday was more like the Ghanaians, like, you know, this bus is from Lagos, right? Or like, you know, stopping the bus, connecting to the bus. They know the bus, and it's what makes it like you've kind of like done your work. You know, like when people can spot this thing and know where it came from and connect with it, like this is home. You know, and like I think like 3 days later, after the first time, after the 14th, maybe like the 17th, I went back to Booker for dinner. And when I was leaving, the chef in the kitchen, like, you know, stopped me, like, you know, thank you for bringing the bus to New York. And I'm like, you were in the kitchen. I ran out too, but you know, I had to go back to attend to my food. But he's like, you know, Niger for life. Thank you so much for bringing this.
Is it Lukman?
I don't know. No, Lukman is
the owner.
He jumped on the bus and he was the bus conductor for a few seconds. You know, like screaming the bus stops. You know, he has a video of it actually.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But
I had to go
you know, with the cook, you know, like telling me like, you know, and he remembered like, you know, it's you brought the bus, and I'm like, yeah. It's like, you know, thank you for bringing the bus. You know, makes us remember home, and you know, Niger for life. You know, we're still connected with home, and that was really, you know, that makes your day. That makes your day.
And it's tricky because like my dad, for example, he hasn't been back in 20 years.
Oh wow! And
he has no intentions of going back. But I showed him one of your videos, and he just sat there.
Oh, yeah?
And he grew up in Lagos, Lagos Island.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like, he just sat there and it was like, wow. And the part of me there was a bit of happiness, but yet sadness.
Yeah,
it was just
nostalgia,
like,
you know, it's nostalgic, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we tell him, oh, Lagos is not like that anymore. He's like, okay. But there was an emotion that
I agree.
came out just naturally.
I agree. Like I even met some, like, you know, some older Nigerians that, you know, that came for the installations, and they'll be like, you know, listen, this is, and I know this sound, you know, like, you know, this is Lagos for me. And, you know, I haven't been around for a while, but I remember the sounds. I miss this sound. I have to say, like, if I was in Lagos, I wouldn't even say that because this is too hectic and stuff like that. But having been here for a while, you know, I miss this sound. I want to, you know, thank you for, you know, they tell you thank you. And it's that's when you feel you've done your job, you know, those kind of reactions.
Yeah. So as human beings, how do we react to sound? From a psychological perspective?
It's interesting because actually we started hearing before we started seeing. You know, I think after the first trimester in the womb, you can the baby, the fetus or the, you know, in the womb, connect, you know, starts hearing. You know, the ears develop first in the womb before they are born. They can start seeing. So psychologically, or like, we are more in tune to like listening, hearing, but because humans are more visual, visual, the eye takes over, kind of, and we think it's all about like seeing. You know, when people say I miss somewhere, it has nothing to do with the visual at all. It's either the smell or what they hear. So hearing is very, very important to us as humans, you know, but living in cities and not paying so much attention to sound of the city, but we are kind of like trying to pick out sounds of danger, like sirens or a car fast approaching you. So you see, these are things you wouldn't see immediately, but you probably hear, you know, and get out of the way or something like that. So, but I think hearing is very, very important, and you know, not just, you know, listening and paying close attention to that, and that's also what these sounds do. You know, when you record sounds of Lagos, bring it to a gallery and put it in an earphone, people kind of pay more attention to the sound. And I've learned, I didn't grow up in Lagos. I moved to Lagos like most people. I've learned so much about the city by just going around to record the sound and also listening to this. Especially the way the bus conductors call some of these routes, you wouldn't really get it. It's like they're freestyling, twisting the words on their own. But when you're out there, you may not get it.
Yeah.
But when you are listening closely, you're kind of, oh, this is what they're saying. Like they get Oshodi and twist it in different ways.
Yeah.
And so it's a way of paying attention to the city. It's a way of also understanding the city, how the city works through sound.
So a huge part of our culture, African culture, is the concept of the storytelling.
Yeah.
And you tend to, you hear these things and then you visualize them.
Yeah.
How is your work expanding? Because I feel like, I like the way, like when my grandfather used to tell us stories growing up, when NEPA took lights, he'll gather all the grandkids and he'll tell us stories, Tales by Moonlight in Grandpa's house kind of deal.
Yeah.
In fact, that's missing. That sort of it's dying out due to technology, due to globalization.
Yeah.
So how does your work tie back into storytelling?
Oh wow! Well, like you. One thing about the storytelling is like, when you hear these stories about the tortoise, about the animal kingdom, which don't really exist, but you picture
folklore,
you picture it. You create your picture in your head, and it's different for everyone. It's the same like recording sounds of the cities, like of Lagos. If I record in the market, it's a different place. You record in the bus stop, it's a different place. You record on the street. So in a way, you can tell the story of a place from just navigating with sound from place to place. And then people can also visualize that in the ways they can. Like for people that know it, they can easily pinpoint that. For people that don't know, they create this vision in their head. And I've also started like incorporating like narratives into the sound. Where you have the soundscape, then you have a narration going on. And most of the narration are from like the streets. Like I get the bus conductors to tell me, they know Lagos, the bus drivers, they know Lagos. They can tell you so much about Lagos. So I get them to do like a kind of narrative, which you now like layer over the sound, and it creates like a story of the place. They're telling you, okay, this is this place. You cannot see it.
You can't see it.
But you now like tend to create your picture of what this place could look like. Sometimes I connect with the sound and sometimes I don't. So there could be a disconnect, there could also be a connection. So it's just, how do you want this to play out? So it's like an urban storytelling. You have them telling you like real stories or like their experiences in the city, or maybe like about the historical part of the city. Some things that don't exist anymore, like things have changed. It used to be like this before, or like I picked up this customer one day and this happened, or like that kind of. So I find all that interesting. When you throw it into the mix, it becomes like a story of a city, of a place. How does it play out?
So what should we expect from you? What's happening?
Well, I mean, a lot is happening. But the thing with working with sound, I've come to realize, whenever I try to script things or like projects, this is how I want it to go, it never happens that way. I've sort of let my work, pull me along. Lagos have done that for a while. It's very organic. It opens up, it closes up when it wants, it opens up when it wants. And I like it that way. It's revealing for me, and it's full of surprises. Even me as the artist working with the sound, right? So I'll let it grow organically. Like, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you've done a lot with Lagos," but I feel I haven't started. Maybe I've just cracked the surface. But and the city keeps changing. It's quite dynamic. So it would be nice to follow that up and see where it leads you to. I've learned to be open-minded about it. I've learned to like let it lead me. So I'm also interested to see how it leads me, or how things change in the future.
And you're getting amazing reception. Just bringing Lagos to the world.
Wow, it's you wouldn't even believe how like things kind of blew up with the whole Lagos situation. And I think the best part of it is the reactions and sort of the follow-ups with it, because you meet musicians, composers coming up to you like, listen, we want to work with the sound. Create a sound piece that is like a journey. I don't want to call it music anymore, because it's more that it's beyond music. It's an experience. You have the composition, then you have sound of the city weaving between the compositions, that it takes you it takes you on a journey into the space that for most people they have never been with. And the idea of working with composers and music is just trying to find different ways to open up people's ears to Lagos, because sometimes we know it sounds very harsh. You know, like it's some people from the western part of the world cannot take it. You know, we don't know this. So, but with music, it could make it like it could soften it down a little bit, or we can pump it up still. So it gives you more. It gives you more room to play with the sound, you know. Totally. And at the same time, you can present it the way as raw as it is, with the music happening. I did a composition with a pianist from Berlin that got inspired with the sounds of Lagos. He made a composition, a piano composition of the sound of Lagos, and we layered it back into the soundscape, and it was amazing entirely. So it's been a fantastic reception, and the best part of it is how organic it is and how you just take this sound and do so much with it. You know, and that's what that's the journey we're going to continue with in New York. I'm looking out for composers who I'm going to work with to, you know, like continue this conversation between New York and Lagos. And so far, the people I've spoken with, they are into it. They want to do this, and it will be interesting to see what we create when sounds of New York and Lagos come together.
I think that would be cool because you're literally using your environment, you're using nature, you're using what, you know, the universe
things
is
around
given
you.
to you.
Yeah. I see it more like, I will always say, like, I just record, like the city is the composer. You know what I mean? That the city composes all the sound. I just document it. You know, the city is the composer, and if you look at it, that's true. The way the city is laid out, the laws that govern the city, it's what decides how the city sounds. You know? So the city first and foremost is a composer, then we document it and maybe remix it. That's what we do.
And as we close off, what inspires you? What gives you that pulse, that heartbeat?
I have to say it's your environment. You know, if you're in a messed up environment, it's going to affect you. But if you're in an environment that is, you know, like very creative, there's a lot happening, there's a lot of things out there, it inspires me. The music also, like I can't live without music. It really keeps me going. You know, it keeps me going a lot. But first and foremost, it's your environment, and Lagos did that for me. Lagos completely changed things for me. You know, and before I moved to Lagos, I wasn't thinking that way. But coming to Lagos, you have no choice. You have to be sharp. You have to be street smart. You have to be out there in the street, and you know, Lagos inspires me a lot. You know.
I think for me, it's the resilience of Lagosians.
Exactly.
You know, I think I was telling you, like, you know, a guy is selling you plantain chips in traffic. And how much is it going to make? Maybe not even up to 50 cents, maybe $1.
But the point is that if they're not making money, they wouldn't be there.
Exactly.
You know, so there's something they sell. And that's also the spirit of the Dunkerboss.
They would chase, you just run.
Because in Lagos, time is money.
Time is money,
Definitely, time is money, and these guys have to, it's about the hustle. And I find that a lot in New York too, you know, like it's about the hustle, it's about the grind, and you know, you can't slack. So just that inspires you, like coming out every day in Lagos inspires going through that traffic and seeing these guys already on the beat as early as 5 a.m. You know, like they have to sell. You know, that pushes you. I mean, you can't slack, you know. No slacking in Lagos.
And I tell people all the time, everyone's like, oh, if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere in the world. And I'm like, dudes, no, if you make it in Lagos, like, you make it to heaven.
Because New Yorkers have certain infrastructure we don't have back home.
We don't have,
You know, imagine running your generator all day. You know, here in New York, the power is on the whole day. You don't have to bother about that. You know, like changeovers and stuff like that. But
Converter.
if you inverters and stuff. If you make it in Lagos, you can definitely make it. You can definitely make it anywhere. Definitely. You know, so Lagos for sure.
Special thanks to Emeka Ogboh for joining us today.
Thank you very much for
having me. Thanks to you guys for watching, and have a safe, amazing, and a great trip.
Thank you very much.
And you know, continue to enjoy New York, and we'll see you soon.
Definitely. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.